About a year ago, my friend Anna and I, both 22-year-old women, found ourselves in the midst of a typical weekend, feeling a bit restless and eager for adventure. So we decided to embark on a spontaneous trip to the beach, hoping to soak in some sun, snap a few photos, and simply enjoy the day. Little did we know, however, that our outing would soon take a turn for the unexpected. As we arrived at the beach, the salty breeze and the sound of crashing waves greeted us, setting the perfect backdrop for our impromptu photo shoot. With the sun casting a warm glow and the sand between our toes, we spent the day capturing candid moments and creating memories to cherish. But as the afternoon waned and hunger began to gnaw at our stomachs, we decided to head back home, satisfied with our beach escapade. On our journey back, with appetites whetted by the sea air, we found ourselves craving a quick bite to eat. And what better place to satisfy our hunger than McDonald's, conveniently located just across from a renowned restaurant frequented by celebrities and socialites. Excitedly, we pulled into the parking lot, blissfully unaware of the events that were about to unfold. As we stepped out of the car, Anna's demeanor suddenly shifted. Gone was her carefree attitude, replaced instead by a sense of unease and apprehension. Puzzled by her sudden change in behavior, I inquired about her unease, only to learn that she had noticed a group of men loitering outside McDonald's, their gaze fixated on us with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. Now, ordinarily, I'm not one to easily succumb to fear or paranoia. But even I couldn't deny the discomfort that crept into the pit of my stomach as I observed the lingering stares of these strangers. Sensing Anna's growing unease, I made the decision to heed her instincts and suggested that we find somewhere else to eat. However, before we could make our escape, nature called, and I found myself in need of a restroom. Navigating through the bustling crowd of patrons, I made my way to the back of the restaurant where the bathrooms were located. The layout of the McDonald's was labyrinthine, with narrow corridors leading to various dining areas and facilities. As I entered the restroom, the fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows against the tiled walls. Unbeknownst to me, as I attended to my business in one of the stalls, a sinister presence lurked nearby. It wasn't until I heard Anna's voice echoing through the restroom that I realized something was amiss. Startled, I called out to her, only to be met with silence. And then, as if emerging from the shadows themselves, I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching. With a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, I realized that Anna wasn't alone. In a panic, she had rushed into the restroom, only to come face to face with the very source of her apprehension, the group of men who had been watching us intently from outside. Frozen in fear, she stood rooted to the spot, unsure of what to do next. Meanwhile, I remained oblivious to the unfolding drama, occupied as I was with my own thoughts. It wasn't until I emerged from the stall, oblivious to the danger that lurked nearby, that I finally became aware of the gravity of the situation. As Anna recounted the events that had transpired, my blood ran cold, and I felt a chill creep down my spine. Together, we hastily gathered our belongings and made a beeline for the exit, desperate to escape the clutches of the unknown assailants who had invaded our sanctuary. But even as we fled to the safety of our car, the lingering sense of dread refused to dissipate, casting a shadow over what should have been a carefree day at the beach. Once safely ensconced within the confines of our vehicle, we breathed a collective sigh of relief, thankful to have escaped unscathed from the clutches of danger. But even as we drove away, leaving behind the scene of our harrowing ordeal, the memory of that fateful day continued to haunt us, serving as a sobering reminder of the dangers that lurk in the most unexpected of places.
Back in my high school days, I found myself in the midst of an unexpected adventure while working at McDonald's. Let me tell you, it was anything but your typical part-time gig. In the span of less than a year, I encountered some truly bizarre incidents, but one in particular stands out vividly, occurring about a month into my stint. Imagine the scene. It's around 5:01 p.m., the bustling hour before the chaos reaches its peak at 7. I'm stationed behind the front counter, confidently taking orders like a seasoned pro. The line is manageable, and I'm handling it with ease. And then, it happened. A guy sidles up to the counter, not to order food, but to ask for my phone number. Caught off guard by his unexpected request, I politely decline. But here's where things get interesting. The guy becomes visibly upset and storms off without even placing an order. Talk about strange vibes. Despite the odd encounter, I soldier on through the rush, the incident lingering in the back of my mind. Fast forward to 8 p.m., and the chaos finally begins to subside. That's when Mr. Creep makes a reappearance, apologizing for his earlier behavior. Being the bigger person, I accept the apology and offer him a chance to order some food. However, he circles back to his previous request for my phone number. Once again, I stand my ground, politely refusing. Undeterred, he then suggests hanging out, but I brush off his advances, citing work obligations. That's when things take a turn for the worse. The guy becomes visibly upset once more and storms out, muttering something unintelligible under his breath. Relieved to see him go, I finish my shift without further incidents. Little did I know, the saga was far from over. The following Saturday, amidst the afternoon rush, he resurfaces. This time, he bypasses the counter altogether, opting for a table in the back. Doing my best to ignore his presence, I focus on the hectic task of taking orders. Hours pass, and when I finally look up, he's still there, his gaze fixed on me. I silently pray that he won't queue up. Thankfully, he doesn't, and the hours drag on until I realize he's vanished without making a move. Relieved, I finish my shift and head home, thinking the ordeal is finally over. Little did I know, it was far from done. As I exit the McDonald's in the dark, I hear footsteps behind me. And lo and behold, it's Mr. Creep, closing in fast. Panic sets in as I bolt towards my car, heart pounding in my chest. Desperation kicks in, and I reach for the pepper spray stashed in my pocket. With a swift spray to his face, I buy myself the precious time needed to escape. Shaken but unharmed, I dial the police and drive away, praying I'll never have to encounter him again. The lesson learned? Always keep pepper spray handy, even in the most unexpected of places. And that, my friends, was just one wild chapter in my McDonald's adventure.
It was a late, weary night after a particularly grueling day at work when my rumbling stomach led me to the reliable embrace of McDonald's. The clock struck around 10 p.m. as I pulled into the deserted parking lot of the McDonald's, conveniently situated on my route home from a bustling commercial area. With most neighboring businesses closed for the night, the streets and lots around were eerily silent and empty. Stepping into the restaurant, I was greeted by an employee, the only other soul in sight. I swiftly placed my order, the classic #1, a Big Mac meal, and filled my drink while waiting. Within what felt like mere moments, my order was ready. Excited to finally sate my hunger, I left the quiet confines of the deserted restaurant, only to be greeted by an unexpected sight. A Ford Escape SUV, an older model dating back to around 2010, had parked perilously close to my Chevy Silverado pickup truck on the driver's side. Perplexed by their peculiar choice of parking spot, especially when there were plenty of open spaces available, annoyance began to creep in. The occupants of the SUV, hidden within the confines of their running vehicle, made no attempt to move, adding to my irritation. Opting not to confront them directly, I circled around to the passenger side of my truck, where there was ample space to enter. Irritated, I unlocked my car, climbed in, and maneuvered over the front passenger seat to reach the driver's side. As I settled into my truck, I couldn't help but steal a glance at the mysterious duo in the adjacent car. To my utter surprise, both were wearing eerie clown masks. Exhausted and hungry, I initially dismissed it as some juvenile attempt at humor. However, my fatigue quickly dissipated, replaced by shock and fear when, as I started my engine, the person in the passenger seat brandished what appeared to be a crowbar. Stunned, I watched in horror as the individual swung it at my driver's window, the impact solid but thankfully failing to shatter the glass. Without a word, instinct took over as I threw my truck into reverse, flooring the gas pedal, desperate to escape before another swing could occur. The pair in the clown masks hastily followed suit, seeming intent on pursuing me as I raced out of the McDonald's lot and onto a busier street. Their reckless pursuit led to them crashing into rocks and bushes within the McDonald's landscaping. While the collision wasn't severe, it left them stranded. Relieved, I observed them exiting their car as I sped away, wasting no time in calling the police to report the bizarre and potentially dangerous encounter. Back at home, as I reflected on the random and terrifying attack, I couldn't help but feel baffled about the motive behind it. It felt like a surreal, nightmarish encounter, leaving me grateful that the pursuit had come to an abrupt end at the McDonald's rocks. In hindsight, I still struggle to comprehend why they targeted me, a seemingly random and unprovoked incident that I hope never repeats itself.
My journey with McDonald's began with hopeful aspirations of funding my college studies. But little did I know it would turn into a nightmare that still haunts me to this day. It all started innocuously enough, during a routine summer shift at the drive-thru window, where I found myself amid the flurry of orders passing through my hands. Among the countless customers, one particular pair stood out. A woman sporting a bizarre ketchup red wig, accompanied by her seemingly submissive boyfriend. Despite my diligent efforts to ensure their order was accurate and timely, things took a strange and unsettling turn when the woman aggressively snatched the bag from my hands, her demeanor quickly shifting from quirky to confrontational. Later that day, she stormed into the restaurant, wreaking havoc and causing chaos, demanding to speak to the manager. The situation escalated dramatically, culminating in the manager slapping her after she spat in his eye. But the confrontation didn't end there. In a fit of rage, she went berserk, hurling objects and causing a scene that left everyone in shock. Her focus shifted to me, her threats growing increasingly menacing as she fixated on the idea of inflicting physical harm. Matters escalated further when she brazenly jumped over the counter, forcing employees to intervene and forcibly eject her from the premises. Despite their efforts, she returned multiple times, each instance more volatile than the last, until the manager finally warned her of police intervention, prompting her to disappear into the night. Months passed, and just when I thought the ordeal was behind me, she resurfaced, ordering the same items with that same eerie smile, her presence sending shivers down my spine. Though tempted to alert the authorities, I hesitated, hoping she would simply leave after confirming her order. As I left work that day, clutching my pepper spray tightly in hand, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that accompanied her lingering presence. True to form, she pursued me, and in a moment of sheer panic, I unleashed the pepper spray, hoping to deter her advances. However, her reaction was far more terrifying than I could have imagined, as she charged at me, vandalizing my car window and physically assaulting me before disappearing into the night once more. Despite my desperate pleas for help, the police response was disappointingly indifferent, and my life began to unravel in the aftermath of the violent encounter. I made the difficult decision to quit my job, seeking solace in the familiar embrace of my parents' home, but not before the traumatic incident caused me to miss my college graduation due to the severity of my facial injuries. Now, haunted by the lingering trauma of that fateful encounter, I live in constant fear of encountering her again, terrified that she may recognize and torment me once more. This customer, with her fiery red hair, left a trail of destruction and chaos in her wake during a violent episode at McDonald's, verbally abusing staff, attempting to breach the counter, and hurling objects in a terrifying display of aggression that left a lasting sense of fear and vulnerability among the employees.